Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
I'm sorry, my bird just tried to climb on a cord and she fell off and she fell on the floor and it was awkward. But anyways, let's do this. Okay, so lukewarm open time. You know as well as I do that it is December now, and that means Christmas time is around the corner. Josh, is Christmas your favorite holiday?
No.
What? Okay, it's not mine either, to be fair, so I probably shouldn't act super surprised. But what's your favorite holiday?
Honestly, I just have a lot of good memories of Hanukkah, so I think I gotta go Hanukkah. Or
Okay,
Passover.
I was gonna say, if you were gonna say Thanksgiving, I was gonna be like, wow, that's so lame.
Nah, I've never really cared about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's why we didn't have a Thanksgiving-themed episode, because Thanksgiving is just kind of lame, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But for Lukewarm Open today, I kind of wanted to... How would you run, like, a major holiday in D&D? And what would it be? Like, what would the holiday be?
Well, I always like the kind of, festivals to celebrate the new season. And those ones are always fun, because you can have, like, a whole town be involved in, like, a farmer's market or a fair, or like it's things that would have interesting events for the players to see or engage with.
So what would that look like in a game, like in a game of D&D?
Well, so when it comes to like a festival, what I would probably do, you could always have like contests. Whether it's like, ooh, this is a strength contest, or you get like a pie eating contest, like kind of like the stuff. So you just ran for us
it was a fair. It wasn't really a holiday. It was
but I mean the same ideas of what you ran in that fair could be run for a holiday. Just think of it as like a holiday celebration.
How would you weave like the lore of a holiday into something? Do you have any holidays in your world that you have already?
Yeah, I have like a winter's festival, like a sort of Christmas.
Is there like traditions and things in that holiday? Like, do you have it like fleshed out, or is it just kind of like a thing that they pass by?
Well, so I have like way too much lore for it, but like the party doesn't need to or really does care about it. The thing for me is that I wanted it to be like, why is this a thing? Like, why are they still celebrating this? Like, what's the importance of it? And so, like, the one that I go back to is this winter's festival, because I want it to feel like Christmas, so they have some sort of like relation, like some sort of like basic understanding of what it is that their players would actually have, that the characters would actually have. So the festival in the world, the actual world lore for it is that the nation where it got popularized was like a communist nation. And they had every winter they had the like give out of these seeds to all the farmers. And so the farmers would all get their seeds for the year. But it was kind of delivered in such a way that it was like a gift. And so it was delivered in these nice fancy boxes, and it was this whole thing. And so the farmers around that time would use it as a time to like, give something to somebody they cared about. And then it kind of just grew and grew and grew to where all of a sudden more people are giving gifts on that day that aren't even farmers. And then it kind of expanded from there. And there's a whole bunch of like little minutia lore about how it spread and things, but I do not think it is actually, it would be interesting enough to go into here.
No, yeah, totally. Do you, for holidays, do you run them a lot? Do you have very many, or is it just like here and there? Because I find that a lot of players are interested in that kind of stuff, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I was just curious if you have very many in your world, or just like one or two.
I would love to have a lot, and I would love to have players that care about them, but I don't have players that care about them or would want to. And
Yeah, I
so
feel
like I have probably like 7. And so like I keep a very loose track of what month it is, kind of where they are in that month and stuff. And so I can kind of keep track of, oh, if you're heading into this town now, you'll see them setting up for something. So if they're interested in finding out what it is, then they stay. If they're not, then they just head on to the next thing.
Yeah, I feel like I guess with holidays and fairs, they're like really, really heavy roleplay. And if your like table isn't really heavy into lore and roleplay, then like sometimes they're not very fun to run. But at the same time, they can be really fun for like games and stuff because they can make a good laugh. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I've sat at your table like once. I don't really know how heavy into lore and RP they are, but
I mean, they're not like against it, like, but I don't.
yeah.
It it has to be important. Like, if it's just world lore, they're not gonna care. If it is important to like who the big bad evil guy is or like things like that, then they're like, "Ooh, I gotta know this."
Now this is for some reason this is what came to my mind, but are your players like traditional like heroes when they play D&D? Or
They
are they
like to be, yeah. I have
because
over the years, because I've been playing this game for a few years now. I'm not sure how many. I think it's like 5 with the same kind of basic group. And so we've all kind of like grown each other, and you can kind of see that and how the game has kind of morphed with this group. And so in the way that I like to play games where there's like moral ambiguity and not everything is cut and dry, you are the hero. We have all kind of like I have learned to make a game where they can feel like heroes at times, but they have also come to enjoy these kind of complex storylines where it's, hey, like, we have to decide what is being a hero in this situation.
yeah. So do you have like, I mean, traditional things like stealing and stuff that your PCs do, or are they pretty like above board with that kind of stuff?
Above board. They're very above board with all that stuff.
Wow. I mean, that's just like a total. I don't know. I always have at least someone in, at least a couple people in a D&D campaign who are like, stealing stuff and, like not being a typical or hero, like,
Mm-hmm.
That's always interesting to me because when I play D&D, I'm very, very chaotic when I play D&D, and I usually like to play because I mean, in real life, obviously, I'm like a very, very. I like to think I'm a very good person, but in D&D, I like to kind of.
Well, we all like to
step
deceive
into the,
ourselves,
like,
Aaron.
difference. I know, right? I know, but I like to step into like a different. I don't know, like a different. Do things
so
that
I
can't
think
normally
the
do.
thing is they have like they see their moral compass continuing into the game, which is the way I like to do it as well, where I don't want to do something that like is so beyond what I would actually do in real life. I mean, occasionally, like if that's what the player would do, I mean, if that's what the character I've built would do, but like, one of the things, the reason why I think my party is like this, and they don't like steal and they don't try to like keep things from each other, is because, like, I mean, they keep things from each other, like, ooh, not until this is revealed for story reasons type stuff. But like, they don't like, oh, I'm gonna hand you 15 of the 25 gold I got. Like, that type of stuff doesn't happen. But because when it does happen, that character gets ostracized for it. Like, when that gets revealed that they've been stealing or whatever, like, the party's like, we're not okay with that. And so
So it's kind of like everybody plays above board, and if somebody doesn't, then it's kind of like a awkward.
Yes. So what just happened in like, so one of the characters, the person he was playing died in a combat. It was this big thing. It was they were fighting this battle, and the big bad evil guy was one of the big bad evil guys was kind of sitting above watching the fight. And he's like, the big bad evil guy's not getting involved. I'll just throw a fireball at him anyways. So he
Nice.
purposely antagonized this guy. And so he realized what he did was stupid. He was like, this dude was staying out of the fight. I engaged him. Like, I get it. I should be dead. But in that, he started a new character. And his new character kind of is goofier. And so he's kind of susceptible to other people's ideas to an extent. And so one of the other people convinced him, hey, you should you just found 25 gold. Like, you should keep 10 of it and just say you found 15. And so he did that.
Yeah.
He did something like that. But he failed his deception roll. And it was only over 5 to 10 gold. So it wasn't a whole lot of money. But the rest of the players are like, oh, I don't know if I can trust you anymore. If losing my trust was worth 10 gold, here, you can have it. And it was a whole thing. And
Yikes.
Yeah. It made he was kind of hit in the face with oh crap, I messed up real bad.
Yeah, man. My table's not like that at all. The table's not like that at all.
Yep.
I mean, you guys are well, I mean, I guess it depends. Jonah's character is a pretty good character for the most part, but even then, still. But oh man, some of the characters in our table, the table that you play at, are pretty pretty not.
I mean, someone's going for world domination. I don't think you can have a lot of sweet people in that kind of environment.
No, you certainly can't. Yeah, I don't know. Because the reason I brought that up is because in the recap yesterday when I was talking about our heroes, and I wasn't 100% sure because we aren't really heroes, but we are kind of heroes at the same time.
We're heroes.
You guys are invested in stopping bad people, but at the same time, there's a lot of bad stuff that you guys do too.
But we're definitely the heroes of the story. Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, I guess compared to some of the villains for sure, but at the same time,
wow,
it's pretty...
compared to some of the villains.
Yeah, I mean, I mean it's hard to have because Jonah's character is just so different from Jordan's character, and Jordan's character is so different from Chris's character in morals, and so it's just kind of it's all kind of all over the place. So it's just interesting to see how it kind of works out.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of slowly changes people's perspectives.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tend to play kind of chaotic when I play D&D. I don't know if it's just because I like to do stuff that's a little bit different than what I would in real life. And it's kind of fun to experience I stole some gold. Ooh, I mean, obviously, I probably would never kill someone either. Even in a weird, in a self-defense combat thing. I don't know. I'd have a hard time doing that too. But but it's just fun to play a little bit on the edge when in real life you're not on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? Okay, I know it's going 15 minutes, but do you find it hard to play a character that's on the edge, that's a little bit bad and a little evil in some cases?
Well, I don't like this question.
Why not?
Because it proves that my moral fiber is not as good as it probably should be.
Okay. Are you going to say no? You find it easier?
No, it's just fine. I think there is something. See, now this is why I don't like this question. Because anything I could say sounds terrible. I was just about to say, sometimes it just feels easier to just get rid of your problems.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, though, especially in D&D.
But That's also terrible. But also it's like, hey, if I leave this dude alive, he could come back and be a problem later. I literally can't leave him alive. And like
Yeah.
being a good character would be like, no, you can't do that. Like he gave up, he surrendered. But like as an evil character, you'd be like, yeah, okay, let's take him out.
Yeah, kind of like we had a little bit of an experience like that yesterday when the dwarf cleric guy surrendered, and then it was kind of like, well, I guess we just got to kill him, you know?
Well, yeah, he also did not surrender as he should have.
No, I mean he didn't. No, not fully, but and then the slave one too. The slaves where it was like, you know, they might be in the party later and turn on us from whatever's like growing inside them. So,
well, no, that one was a different situation. As that was like, hey, we're not going anywhere near where you need us to go. And they're like, no, but please come with us. And you're like, we're not going in that direction. We can give you supplies and help you, but that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, again, at the same time, like they have nothing. They don't even know where they are, you know? So, like, just being left out in the open, would they rather take their chances with a random group of people who just killed a bunch of guys in front of them and, seem like they're pretty capable? Or would they rather take their chances wandering back out to get captured again? So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's obviously easier to play, like, an evil character in D&D because you can just, like, kill, Like, you can just, like, I don't like this guy anymore. Stab, stab, stab. He's not a problem. And I think, it can be hard to differentiate the game of D&D instead of, like, it being, like, a moral, like, your character is actually living in it,
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to end it there and begin the topic. No, I kind of
fun. What do you got? I know something about boulders. That's all I remember.
It's two brothers. But first, before I get into the topic, I want to talk about how I found this topic because it was a trip for me. It kind of shocked me a bit. So, for those of us who use TikTok, TikTok has a bunch of different communities on there of like, oh, this person makes content for my mind is blanking on everything right now. Historical community, and this is the science community, and this is the chemistry community, and this is the crafting and arts, and like there's a bunch of different communities on there. And that's part of the reason why it's so entertaining is that you can find these, first of all, things that you've never thought you'd be interested in, and things that you totally knew you were interested in. And you
okay, well, now you have to give us an example. Now you have to give us an example
of
what you found that was interesting that you never thought you'd be interested in.
Really, really pretty Christmas wrapping. Like somebody who's like really good at it.
I was not expecting you to say that at all.
It's not something I thought I would ever say either. Like if you watch
Christmas wrapping,
it's oddly satisfying, my dude. Like somebody who's like a master at it is like, you're like, there's no way that is enough sheet. That's not enough paper to wrap that whole item. How are you going to do that? And then they do it perfectly, and you're like, what in the world? How did you make that work?
I'm a terrible rapper when it comes to Christmas. I mean, I've got a fire mixtape, but I'm really, really bad at wrapping Christmas gifts. I'm just saying right now. I am the person who just like uses way too much wrapping paper and just like covers the box as much as I can.
Well, so I was on I was searching through just they curate pages of like, ooh, this is stuff that you'll like. And so I found a person from metal TikToks. So all about metal music and that kind of stuff. And I'm going to shout out their tag here. They're Deadboy94, and it's spelled DEDBOI 94. Dude has a crazy, there is so little, the videos he'll make are on so many different topics, on so many different things. And so I would just be scrolling through my the page of things that people that I follow, and I'm like, oh, like this dude is now making a video about this thing or about that thing, and it's the same person, but his content is all over the map. As I'm scrolling through one day, I find a video of this guy with a fantasy character pictured behind him, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I found you because of metal music. What are you doing talking about fantasy? Turns out he's talking about Forgotten Realms lore, which I love, and I was like, this is fantastic. And he has shown me like 8 amazing characters that I never knew of that I'm like, I want to learn all about these people.
You know what's interesting? There are a lot of people that you would never expect or like think about that love D&D. When I was at jury duty over the last 2 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
There were like, so you have to give like a basic introduction of yourself, like, hi, I'm Aaron, I like blah blah blah, my hobbies are this. And there were like 10 people in that courtroom who all were like, my hobby is D&D. And I was like, what the heck is happening in real life?
Yeah.
I thought D&D was like not a thing that people talked about.
Yeah, and now it's like, yeah, oh yeah, D&D is just like a thing that people are into. It's just a hobby like any other.
Just totally wild. I was blown away.
Yeah. And so he has talked about a bunch of different characters, this TikTok creator. And the one that I'm currently picked for this week's topic is Ivan and Pikel Bouldershoulder. Now, just from their name, what race do you think they are?
Dwarves. I have no idea, but that's my best guess.
Oh, no, you were right. You're 1,000. Yes, it's dwarf.
Oh, really?
Yes,
oh, wow.
They're dwarves. Now, Ivan and Pikel Bouldershoulder, they were born in the area of Vasa, a cold, untamed land in the north of Faerun. They ended up living at Spirit Soaring, a library temple to the god of Dinir. Dinir was the lesser good deity of art, cartography, glyphs, images, knowledge, literature, and scholars. This temple was owned and operated by Caterly Bonaduce, an incredibly highly powered cleric adventurer who gained a lot of fame and power throughout his travels. From this place came these two brothers. Let's start with Ivan. From his appearance and general demeanor, you could mistake him as just a stereotypical dwarf, but he is so much more than that. Ivan is incredibly strong, able to dual wield 2 large double-headed axes. He also wields... Yeah. He also...
And he's a dwarf, so he's tiny.
Yeah. He also wields a crossbow made by Caterly Bonaduce. This crossbow bolt, the bolts of this crossbow have housings inside them that hold vials of oil of impact. Now, oil of impact is an oil that when under extreme force, or you could say an impact, explode. So it's an explosive bolt firing crossbow.
Wow. I mean, that sounds super, super powerful.
Yeah, it's incredibly cool and incredibly powerful.
Now, wait. Before we continue, how much money do you think one of those bolts costs?
Well, they have a number. They have a number of gold pieces that how much a oil of impact cost. How much do you think it is?
Oh, do they?
Yes, I know exactly how much an oil of impact vial cost.
And we're talking like actual D&D economy?
Actual D&D economy.
I wish I knew how much damage it does.
Yeah, I don't even know that.
I don't know. Let's do something totally outlandish and say 1,000 gold.
5,000 gold.
Gosh dang it. Holy cow.
Now, Ivan has a helmet that has antlers coming from it. He uses these antlers to gore people. He'll headbutt them using these antlers as weapons.
Dude, this guy is rough. Holy cow.
Yeah, Ivan is awesome. I posted a picture of him in Discord.
Could you imagine? I mean, could you like imagine yourself goring someone with your own helmet antlers? Like that is wild.
It is.
He's also really cool though.
Yes. Now, his brother Pikel, He's an odd one. He's kind of the opposite of Ivan, where Ivan is a stereotypical dwarf in a lot of ways, from his demeanor to his looks to the way he talks. Pikel is anything but. He has dyed his hair green. He wears a green sleeveless robe and sandals. This is instead of any sort of traditional clothes of dwarves, which are more like armor and heavy boots. He even wears a cooking pot as a helmet when charging into battle. He charges into battle with his favorite weapon, a large wooden club with shillelagh on it, so he can use his wisdom score. He calls this weapon his shalala.
What?
Also, he is a dwarven druid, or as he calls it, he's a doodad.
A what?
A doodad.
Why does he call it a doodad?
Well, you'll see, you'll know.
Spoiler alert, that's what it was?
What?
So my question had spoilers in it. You would have spoiled part of the story.
Yeah. So he's a dwarven druid, which is incredibly abnormal in the Forgotten Realms. Dwarves are like so rarely druids, if ever.
Is there a reason for that, or is that just because they are?
No, there's definitely a reason. Druids are, so in D&D lore, now this is a thing that is thrown out by nearly every DM I've ever talked to. In the racial feature, like in the class features for druid, when it comes to armor, it says can't wear any metal armor. This is because druids are all about nature and they just have a thing against it. And so that, even though that's something that DMs throw out, that's still an important part of the lore of a druid in D&D. So the Forgotten Realms, druids are against a lot of what the dwarves do.
That makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
Metal making and armor making.
Yeah, and they're also they also have proficiency in medium armor or whatever from the get-go, just as a racial ability, I think.
I think so too, yeah.
So that would make
they might even be heavy armor.
Yeah, it might be. I don't remember, but it's one of those.
But so because of this, there's just kind of a natural repulsion for both sides to not be involved. Now, thanks to his druidic powers, he can communicate with beasts and animals, and he does so regularly. But when talking to humanoid sentient beings, his vocabulary is seemingly more limited, as he sticks to vocalizations like he, poof, boom, kind of others like this as well.
What? I love him so much.
Yeah, he just kind of has a harder time speaking in traditional language. That doesn't mean he's dumb in any way, as when he says these vocalizations and things, his brother Ivan will often translate what Pikel is saying to other people.
What? So it's not just noises? It's like his own language?
Yeah, and his brother understands it and can translate. Now, Pikel and Ivan are fantastic brothers, as they mess with each other constantly. Ivan is the typical no-nonsense dwarf, and Pikel knows the perfect ways to get under his skin and mess around. Like, one of the things that he likes to do is when Ivan is talking and he mentions the word brother, Pikel will just randomly say, "Me brother." And just, interrupt him and, just mess around in ways that he knows gets under his brother's skin, and it's fantastic.
While that is so awesome, in real D&D, it can be really annoying as a player when somebody does that kind of stuff to you.
What do you mean?
I don't know, when somebody is pushing your buttons in D&D when they're trying to it can be fun. Obviously, it can be fun, but when you're trying to get something done or do something, and a character is just constantly harassing your character about stuff, and you're just oh, let me do something.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it's. I think that's different. I think the kind of play and back and forth that a brother and sister, a kind of that kind of familial relationship kind of back and forth. different
totally.
than pushing buttons just to be irritating.
No, totally, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Pickle and Ivan have some incredible skills and Pickles specifically, that make him enviable to other dwarves. As one of the only dwarven druids, he has druidic powers to affect the earth, such as changing the form of solid stone into liquid and reshaping it into any form that he wants to. He's a very skilled druid. Not a master yet, but very powerful. And he does it all one-handed, as Pickle lost his arm in battle against Obold Many Arrows, an incredibly intelligent orcish leader that led an assault on Mithril Hall, one of the dwarves' strongest and most well-known strongholds in all of Faerun.
Oh, poor Pickle. That's so sad.
After this, he was a part of a group which, what they did, they channeled some explosive gas into a large section of this kind of underground cavern underneath a mountain, where a bunch of this orc and his men are coming and attacking from. And they literally blow up like a huge side of a mountain by igniting this flammable gas that they kind of spread throughout it. They have a bunch of crazy adventures like this where they just... A lot of the heroes in the Forgotten Realms have stories that would fit perfectly in any D&D game, where you're like, that would be such a cool thing to go through as a player. These two are no different.
These two definitely seem like the Lord of the Rings movies, The Hobbits. It just seems like they like the Lord of the Rings, the people who made those movies were like, let's copy these guys' shenanigans and do stupid stuff.
But like these guys are in the books written by R.A. Salvatore, and I would highly suggest reading them. R.A. Salvatore is a very good writer, and the fact that he has created these characters is fantastic, and I would love to know more about them. This is the majority of what I have. I have a little bit more, but we're going a little long, so I'll cut it here and say I would like to create something like, I don't know whether we want to create just like historical heroes or heroes that are still existing in the world. I just think we need some powerful adventurers to have affected the world of Season 3 in some way.
Okay, I like that. And my first immediate thought was doing like a what is his name? John Smith type of hero.
I thought you were going to say John Cena.
No.
Do, 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 do.
No.
You know, like a John Cena hero.
Yes.
The everyman hero that we all need.
Yes. Yep. He can, he just the best wrestler of all time, He's a wholesome dude,
Whoa.
I know like two wrestlers. I know John Cena and The Undertaker, and I don't even know who The Undertaker's name is.
You don't even know Macho Man?
Macho Man? Is that Randy Savage?
Yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay, I don't even know who that is. I don't even know what he looks like. Is he the old guy with the gray weird beard? Or is that Hulk Hogan? That might be Hulk Hogan.
I think you're thinking of Hulk Hogan. Wow, I am ashamed that I even know you right now.
I don't know anything about the fake wrestling.
I mean, let me be honest here. The only way that I originally researched who Randy Savage is because there was a mod for Skyrim where you could make the dragons Macho Man Randy Savage and the Death Claws. And it was in Fallout, and it was fantastic. So I had Fallout, had Death Claws that were Macho Man Randy Savage, and Skyrim had them as dragon, and it was fantastic.
So dumb.
And it played their wrestling intro music when they showed up, and it was so stupid, but so fantastic.
No, but I was not talking about John Cena. Instead, like a character who kind of like started the whole civilization of the New World.
Interesting.
That was my first inclination. I don't know, you have any ideas?
No, I mean, I like that.
Or like a group of individuals who first explored the new land, and they went through like tons of adventures exploring the jungles of the new land, and came back to the old world with maps and items and like animals and species that they've collected to bring back to show everyone, and maybe even went back and started like a settlement, that kind of thing. Maybe even like fought some sort of like evils on the island. Thoughts?
I think that's an interesting one. Is somebody who, because at that point there's not like, because this land for season 3, for people who haven't listened to other episodes, it was made magically, so it doesn't have like, there was no people who were born originally here. There's no indigenous people to this land. So instead of having like it being like a colonizer story, it's just a person who finds this weird magic land, which is an interesting change for the idea of.
That could also be, you could also kind of play off this as like, this hero becomes like the first indigenous person of that island. That could be a very interesting twist to it as well. And that's how like people first got there. Is like he left with a group from the like civilized world after he was like rejected or told he was crazy or something, and he left with the group, and they like lived there for thousands of years or whatever until the civilized world found it again. Be interesting, like an interesting story. Or even he goes back and forth numerous times, and then the last time his like ship crashes or whatever, and he gets stuck on the island with all of his like, people, and they like form the indigenous people of the island. That could be really, really interesting. So then like when the civilized world comes, they're like killing their own people technically.
Interesting.
They just don't know it. But anyways, my first thought was definitely doing like some like explorer, like an explorer type who like explored these uncharted lands and harness the power of giants, that kind of stuff. I think it would be really, really fun. I mean, the second thing we could do is like some sort of military, like huge hero who defended his lands from the Orcish invasion or whatever. I just made that up, but you could do something like that. You could do like a group of people, like a group, like maybe a fighter and his bard traveled around the world and did all sorts of fun things, and now the bard is the only one alive. He's the last one left alive, and he tells the stories. He can still be found today telling the stories of their
John Cena.
like battles. Yeah, John Cena, yeah. So you can do something like that too.
Interesting. I definitely don't want the person to be alive anymore.
Okay.
But I think that's just because it's been so long since they were actually here.
I think I like the idea of an explorer the best, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. I like that.
So then what do we want? What do we want this explorer to do?
Well, they find and settle the land. But I think they are one of the few people that are like adventurers on this new land. So what are the enemies and monsters and things that they find on this weird magically created land?
I don't know, like my first instinct is to go like giants. Like there's giants on this land, and these guys became famous for killing giants and harnessing like their ancestral powers or whatever. Like they fought and felled giants and dragons and giant King Kong gorillas and all these like crazy, dinosaurs and mythological beasts that they have like slayed. And even like brought back specimen and documentation of each for the civilized world to discover and see. Maybe even they like famously killed like a sea monster who guarded this island or whatever. So now people can actually make their way there. Like maybe numerous ships in the past had tried to come to this island, but whatever was guarding the seas around it, it destroyed their ships and destroyed them. And then these heroes came and fell the giant, kraken or whatever, and something like that would be really fun too. What would be their the main goal would just be to explore, like make maps? What's this hero's main goal? What was his main?
Well, so that's why I said
who is he sent
they're
by?
literally establishing a city there. They're establishing people there. Like maybe they were refugees and they ran from like maybe slavery or some sort of issue in their original nation, and they went here only thinking, hey, maybe there's nations and people here. Finding nothing, they're like, hey, why don't we just like build a home here?
No, I like that a lot. Do you think they're like famous all over the world? Like, is this like they're well loved all over the world, or is it like despised by a certain section of the world and loved by others?
Yeah. I think there's a... What do you think the problem is? Like, what do you think they're running from? Because I think that determines...
obviously, what are like things in real life that people have run away from to like become refugees or escape? Obviously there's like tyranny, political, religious, economic, anything like that. All those kind of problems that arise within humanity.
Mm-hmm.
They could have fled like some sort of evil, like some sort of demon or something that had taken over some different place, like a part of the civilized world, which could be really interesting. And they still have a stronghold there today. They could have fled differences in or like a famine. They could have fled from famine. They could flee from disease. Any of those really. I think what would be really fun to do would be like a 2-for-1 explorer and fighter. Like he fled with a bunch of people from the civilized world from this like demon incursion or whatever, or like a demon took over one of the lands and like controlled parts of the land, and he like fled with his people to the new world, settled it, and then when he gained up enough strength, he came back to try and fight the demon and retake his lands for his own people again. And whether he succeeded or not, it's up to us, but I think that'd be a really interesting and fun dynamic.
And so how would you play on that dynamic? I
don't know. I first would probably, we have to flesh out like his whole life probably. He probably would have grown up in like a small like farming community where not much would be known about the outside world, probably kind of kept to themselves, farmed, gave that, what they produced to the state or whatever, and just kind of lived their life. And then one day, as, father and son were traveling to the market, in, the big city or whatever, there's like a big attack of some kind, and the city ends up falling into complete ruin and chaos. And you could do something like the father died, but the son escaped, and he fled with the remaining, like in a refugee caravan. He fled to the ocean, and they all, boarded boats, or even like it was a port town, and they all got on boats and like slowly tried to escape into the sea as like these demons were like destroying boats as they were all trying to escape. And like a few boats made it out, and he was like the one who helmed the expedition, or his boat was the one that stayed back, and he tried to like fend off while the rest escaped, and then he miraculously made it out. That'd be really fun too. So like this like coastal city is attacked by all these demons that are trying to take over a portion of the civilized world. And him and his troop, or him and his men, maybe he was like a captain of the guard, or like like some sort of someone with a little bit of power, like a guardsman, a military general, a captain, or something like that. And him and his men fought off these demon hordes while the boats escaped. And then him and a few of his men were the last ones on the boat. and they finally escaped the incursion, and he led his boats all the way across the sea and into the uncharted territories and lands to try and escape from this incursion. And then that's where they kind of settled, but they didn't have hardly anything with them, so because they fled so fast, they took like merchant vessels, whatever they could pretty much find. Everyone just panicked and tried to escape onto the docks. And then when they land in the New World, they quickly run out of supplies, and they start using what's in the land to create, new ways to create different things, new ways to create clothing and armor and weapons. And so their entire culture like does a 180 shift from this like civilized, world to a little bit, I don't want to say primitive, but a little bit more primitive, because the tools and means that they had at their disposal no longer really existed, because they all just fled with whatever they could on their back as fast as they could. So they then came into this like, he settled this entire land and became this like indigenous hero who essentially founded and formed the uncharted land and all these different tribes and groups of people that now live in these uncharted lands. And then one day he bravely sailed back and was either A, killed by his own people, because that'd be interesting, or B, tried to go fight this demon. And well, I do like that he goes and fights the demon and he wins, and then he's killed by his own people. That'd be interesting. And so like, he is
okay, what I think happens, he goes to fight this demon. In the fight, he somehow contracts like a demonic disease, or maybe the blood of this demon seeps into him, and like he starts to take on demonic features. So when he goes back, people think he's a demon, or he's been possessed, or like he's no longer the hero that he once was.
I like it, but at the same time, I kind of want like a hero who is like a hero for forever. Like he started a hero and he ended a hero, Like he's just a hero of legend. Or maybe like we do what you said, like he goes back and he fights this demon, but it left him like injured or diseased or something. And then somebody took advantage of that. He couldn't make the journey back to his back to the uncharted territories, and a group of somebody in the civilized world killed him and discovered that there's a whole new world awaiting, and that it could be theirs for the taking, because this guy came back from some other different world with totally different than how he left. And they discovered like maps or whatever in his ship, and they were like, they became the anti-heroes who first explored the new world and figured out this whole new way of living and civilization and resources and possibility. And then that's how the civilized world discovered this uncharted territory. So while he was a hero and he fought back and he won his, got revenge for what this thing did to his people, he also partially, like, he died in the process or was killed there, couldn't make the trip back, and they found like documents or maps to this new uncharted area, and then that's how the whole process started.
Interesting.
And now like he's well regarded in the New World's civilization, because he was like their leader, and they're like the one who brought them to safety and led them to these new bountiful lands, though a much different way of living. And he died on the way back, and after he died, here came these new people that they never knew about.
Is it ever revealed that the reason why they came here is because the stuff they found in that dude's backpack and that dude's like his items?
I would probably say that I would probably say they like assumed, like they you probably could assume and figure it out, but I think they take it to where like these people like viciously murdered him because he was different, and they were like, where did he come from? So like he was viciously murdered, and they found, like, I think it would be kind of more along that lines, and it's like a rallying point for the indigenous people of like they killed the one who brought us here, who started this whole entire who helped us settle this island, and then it kind of is the uniting point of the indigenous people. I think that'd be a really interesting way to do it.
Okay, and so, this dude and the group that he came with, how big is it? Because you have to have a certain amount of people to really have enough genetic diversity to really populate a location. So how big do you see this group being?
I mean, I see it being fairly big, but what I'm thinking is like I don't know, like maybe he's like some sort of cleric or monk or something that gives him like extra long life, and he ends up living a long time past the majority of his people, and his people obviously end up like reproducing and stuff as he kind of oversees for thousands of years before he finally makes his way back. Like he's lived long enough and gained enough experience to finally make his way back to the civilized world, where he finds it completely changed and different than what he left it as. So it's like a little bit of a sad story for him, because he like left the lands that he loved and came back to a place that was so different and so morally changed that it, either I hurt him or it like, it shocked him. I think that'd be a really fun thing to play on as well, because if you lived that long from a place that you once called home and then came back thousands and thousands of years, civilization would look dramatically different than how you were used to it. And,
now, do you think he's living so long because of the power of the box and the power of the new land?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility for sure. I would have to just figure out why it would only be him and not everybody else.
Yeah, that was my next thing, is why is it only him?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he did find the box in one of his explorations, and the box granted him this. That could be an interesting thing. Like he essentially found the Fountain of Youth type deal, where he found the box and, wrote about it and extensively in his diaries and journals. And, that's another thing that the civilized world found, like when his ship was looted and ransacked after he was killed, that they like found there's some sort of mythical artifact that's creating the island and can create all sorts of different things for you, and it gave him the gift of life and like almost like immortality. And so the civilized world kind of was like, yes, please. So they, a very, I guess, Spanish, a very Spanish inspired theme, where the Spanish were like looking for all sorts of different treasures and things within the New World and end up making their way over there, settling it and conquering it.
Now, how successful does the conquering? Do they end up failing?
I don't think it's there. I don't think it's there yet. Like I think I would either start the campaign right after this guy died, like in the civilized world, and like people are gathering and getting ready to go, or I would start it. They have just like barely left, and they've like just started the conquest and the incursion, so they have like made a big city there.
I kind of love the idea of starting the players off with like, this dude was just killed.
Yep.
After he died, they realized who he was. Announced it to the world, hey, this dude long thought lost is like, we killed him just a bit ago, so clearly he wasn't lost, and like it's this big news story, and that's where you start the party off.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do. I'd probably do like a somebody who was previously, like you said, somebody who's previously thought dead and long lost, like a prestigious, guard captain or whatever, a prestigious general or prestigious, military leader who, won wars and brought glory to his people. He fled because of his failures or whatever in the east, like where the incursion happened. And he fled to a new land and then found these like magical treasures and trinkets that have kept him alive. And now he came back to exact his revenge on us or whatever. So you kind of like wrap it in a little bit of propaganda, because that's probably what would happen. And then the party gets to discover like who he was, what he did, and like either the truths or the the stretching of the truths on either side. And then maybe even they can go explore the new world or whatever too, and see the stuff that he did there, and maybe join the conquest, or maybe join the defense or anything like that. It could be very interesting.
Yeah.
But I think you'd want to start it right after his death, like it was a big thing. Even maybe like start the party like in that scene where like maybe the party are like, I mean, I hate being cliche, but maybe the party are in like a tavern and some guy like comes bursting in the door who's bloody and wounded, like some older guy, who's bloodied and blue. He looks like like you'd describe him as some sort of like indigenous, like an indigenous person who comes like bursting through the door, like somebody they've never seen in their whole life, as like a bunch of guards run in and fight him, and maybe even kill him. And then they'd go on their first little like beginning mission of like kill rats in the basement, and then news breaks out, like town criers like man killed in the city streets turns out to be General blah blah blah, like coming back to exact his revenge on civilization, that kind of stuff. So then they would be like a little bit partially invested, and they'd be like, oh, interesting. So it would be, and then you would probably have more town criers that are like hired by the government who are like, we're looking for volunteers to go scour this new world that we have discovered and found from this guy's writings and maps. It could be really fun. I mean, obviously you'd have to have like a specific group who'd want to run that kind of campaign, because it could be really, really like exploring and dungeon delving based. But you could definitely throw some political intrigue and fun in there as well, like different factions who had settled the island who are fighting each other, and different nations from the civilized world who have landed in these in the new world.
Mm-hmm.
Very like U.S., British, French, Spanish, all that kind of stuff. So like, and they are fighting for control over the new world, while there's like an indigenous group who are fighting separately for their own spot too.
Yeah,
it could be really fun. But all stemmed from this hero who was both a hero once in the civilized world and then a hero in the new world as well.
Yeah. Well, that is a interesting start and kind of story plot hook to bring the party to the new world.
Yeah, for sure. And, it can also be an introduction to a little bit of politics and fun like that too.
Yeah.
It's not, and they can totally abandon it. It's not really like a, they don't even have to follow those threads if they don't want either. They can go and explore the new world and get gold and treasure and loot. Or they can play politics and invade a new world, or they can play politics and defend a new world. They can, they can do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, surprise, big bad evil guy comes, and he's trying to kill everyone. And then they band the civilized world and the new world together, and they fight off the big bad evil guy.
Yes.
The end.
Yep.
That's probably how I'd run it. You'd play around with like an awkward political scheme all by the new world and the old world that are like killing each other and fighting over it. And then the big bad evil guy steps in, and the party then like tries to unite the two together, and they win.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun, wholesome campaign.
Well, I think I'm gonna cut it there.
Heck yeah!
As this is episode 63 of Dungeoneered.
Woo. We created our own Pickle Rick, or whatever his name is. Pickle Boulder Pickle, Ian and Boulder Pickle, Ian and Pickle Boulder.
Ivan and Pickle.
Ivan.
Boulder Shoulder.
Ah, yes, that's what I said.
What a fantastic last name, Boulder Shoulder.
Boulder Shoulder. It's just like Doomhammer or whatever, or Iron Grip, or Stone
Ash Hammer.
Hand. Ash Hammer, or yeah,
Battle Hammer.
Yeah, it's always like adjective hammer. You got your dwarven names.
Well, there's literally the king is Brunor Battlehammer
in D&D.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if he's currently, but he was.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you just do adjective that relates to like smashing and killing in war, and then put hammer at the end of it, or like crafting even probably works too. And then you got yourself a dwarf clan name.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, outro it is, baby.
Yes, it is. And I will say that if you listen to us in any podcasting apps that have ratings and reviews, please write a review. It really helps the show, showing that you're engaging in more ways than just one. If you want to write to us, we have an email at dungeoneered@hotmail.com. We would love to hear from you if you have suggestions on lukewarm opens or topics, or even just to say, hey, you inspired me to make this or that, or hey, you suck. Like, we'd love to hear it all.
Yes. Hey, you suck. We love to hear it.
Love to hear it. Now, as I always say, Aaron, you got anything else?
No. I think
Okay.
no. Nope.
Well, always remember to be the sharpest barrel in the bunch. See you next time.
Bye.
What was that?
I don't know. I really don't. Listen, I don't know, okay? I really don't. It just happened, all right? Listen, we're doing late night edition, and so I should have been in bed like 10 minutes ago, even though it's only 7, okay?